So it is 35.
We shall start.
We shall begin.
Are you going to introduce?
I will do the
I was
intro.
going to say, you picked up the papers.
Let's
so
see.
Okay.
I gotta, at 46, my vision's going. Hi, welcome to Beyond the Collar. My name is Joshua, and with me is 5 minutes ago my slave Natalie. And for this program, we will go by our first names, Joshua and Natalie, even to each other. Even though it kills me a little bit on the
Gross.
inside.
I'm always Natalie, to be honest.
So talk about the beginnings of the
Beyond the Collar.
Beyond the Collar.
Yes, so Mary and
Who's
I...
not with us today? Mary's outside doing vanilla obligations, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm. Necessary. So Mary and I are co-slaves to Joshua here, aka Master Joshua, which will begin at 8:31 p.m. again tonight. And Mary came to me after Joshua... Sorry, I'm also meeting people. After Uncovered Conversations began, which is a call with 5 heads of households and dominance who speak on the D side of the slash, what goes on over on that side, And so we started the call for submissives to be able to, or S-types to be able to have a conversation about relationships and everything that really has to do with being submissive. After a couple of months, we realized that we were closing a lot of doors, and we wanted to be able to allow dominants or people from the other side of the slash to share their side of the story. And in order to make it a bit more of a well-rounded conversation, we invited Joshua over here to give a dominant perspective to our submissive perspectives.
I was actually doing all the the heavy lifting behind the cameras.
Yep.
But what was cool is I was learning so much more about this perspective by witnessing it. And every now and then I'd drop some information because I was like, oh my God, I have to say something. But there was things that we could expand on and build on when you had both sides of the slash present. Mm-hmm. That really feeds each other into our experiences, into shared perspectives or new perspectives. And then also for myself as a dominant in this relationship, I also have my submissive desires, my bottom desires. And it's like, well, where do I go to talk about those, or at least to be able to learn about what it's like, other than witnessing folks who are doing it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, completely. And if anything, what I just recently learned is if you find yourself naturally falling on one side of the slash, or you should learn more about the other side of the slash and how the other side of the slash thinks in order to be better on your side. And better being
very subjective.
Yeah, like, for lack of a better word, but to understand, to feel more intertwined.
So that's how Beyond the Collar started, roughly. Mm-hmm. And the idea of bringing it online is so that people can ask questions, so we can interact with you guys. The way that this is going to we're going to handle this is you're going to do the raise hand feature on Zoom, which we have down here. And for you folks, you'll just drop them into the comments, and we'll take a peek at the comments and answer questions as they come in. You, again, for Zoom, use the raise hand feature, and we will unblock you because we've had some people who were, what do they call it, Zoom bombing us. And surprise, surprise, they were dropping adult content into an adult content group. Right? It was like, listen, bombing us. And surprise, surprise, they were dropping adult content into an adult content group. Right? It was like, listen, I watched that on a Tuesday morning.
Boring. He was speaking to the people who are on TikTok and Instagram, by the way, so we're going to be recording the meeting as well as having the people on the other platforms join the call, just so these people are aware.
Yeah, the way that Zoom works is it'll only be recording us. It won't be recording the participants, so we don't read the names when we read the comments to keep anonymity. And if you do choose to come on and to speak, I believe it only shows the person who is...
us, the host.
Just us, the host, because we're pinned.
And we only upload the videos to YouTube that are from social media, so it's actually only us, always. But if you want to share and you want to keep it confidential to this group of people and you don't want your speech and your understandings to be posted on YouTube, you can just send me a message, Instagram, beyond the collar, or if you want want to, you can just send me a direct message right afterwards and say, I want that to be cut out. So.
And any and all these conversations that we have are solely our perspectives, our own experiences. Even though I do this professionally, sometimes I'll say my professional opinion, but it's all coming from my own experience, and it's we're only speaking from our places. So please take everything with a grain of salt. Laugh at the things you want to laugh at. Take in the things that work. Put aside the things that don't. And we're always open to conversation as well. Like you can message us afterwards with other questions should you have from these conversations.
Absolutely. Great job.
Yay!
Yay!
So with that, let's go into the questions.
Yes, so tonight we are talking about BDSM negotiation, pickup play versus pre-planned scenes. And I'm pretty excited about this conversation because it's actually the topic of that negotiation was the homework for this week, and the conversation will be on the collar. So we have a couple of people here who I see are from mentorship, who I'm excited that are here.
Cheaters.
No. Overachievers.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited. So the questions are going to be: define negotiation. What is a negotiation in relation to BDSM and kink? The second question is: what is pickup play, and how does a pickup play scene negotiation differ from a pre-planned scene negotiation? 3 is: please share some key components to a successful negotiation. Do you have any absolute necessities to discuss before we play? How do you determine these necessities for yourself? The 4th question being: how do you determine a person's character and or decide if a person you want to play with, engage with, is trustworthy and displays an honest and good intention? Share some green flags and red flags in relation to the person's character. And then 5, for you, what is the most difficult part of negotiating and why? How will you improve on it? Do you have any resources or tools to recommend for improving negotiation skills?
Negotiation.
So let's start with the definition of negotiation.
And thank you for putting it in the chat, Big Daddy. I appreciate it. So define negotiation.
Where 2 or more people come to an agreed plan. In this case, scene. Right? You come and you talk about the boundaries, you talk about the do's and the don'ts, the haves and the have-nots of what's gonna happen. And the more information you can put into these negotiations, in my opinion, the less you have to worry about. But then negotiations, like, what does that look like? It looks different for different people. How about yourself?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you said. I think within the word negotiation, I see it being balanced within both people who are negotiating, meaning that each person isn't going to get everything that they want, but it's going to be agreed upon that, you know, each person's needs or priorities are going to be met. That's my understanding of it.
What's
but
cool,
it depends on the relationships of the people as well.
As you were talking about that, it made me think, because you said we're not going to get everything that we want. And that's such a particular perspective, because I never think about it from that perspective. I think about it from what are we going to co-create versus am I going to get this out of it? I've never ever thought of it like that. But now that I hear it, that's a new perspective in which I see some people, and I've heard it. Now that you said, I've heard it in discussion, but I've never had that experience. I'd have to think about if I've had that experience of, oh man, I'm not going to get what I want.
Well, does it differ from, well, we're saying it differs depending on who's negotiating with who, right? So pick up play versus you're just meeting a person and you're doing it with somebody who you've just met at a party, or somebody like us, we've known each other for a year and a half and we're in a dynamic. So maybe the balance is going to be, you're going to get more than what I'm going to get because that's what the DS balance is. But again, that differs because, you know, it's not like you're not considering any parts of me that, you know, what I need or desire. But you know what I'm trying to say? It's just different for all people. CNC is going to be different.
Yeah.
Why are you looking at me like that? he's like you brat.
No. It's an interesting perspective that I hadn't considered. But now that I think about it, there, of course, there are things that where I wish I had negotiated for something, right? And there was this one time I was doing a scene with another pro, and they were really good, man. They were really good. And mid-scene, I'm like, man, I wish I would have asked for X.
You were bottom two.
I was bottoming. I was
Okay.
bottoming. Yeah. And I was in it, man. I was in it. I was like, oh my God, oh please, I wish. But I didn't ask for it, right? It wasn't put into the negotiation, so I couldn't get it. Because I mean, there's rules to negotiating, right? There's ways to negotiate and to be safe with negotiations, meaning once negotiation ends and the play starts, there's no renegotiating, right? So it's like, that's the rule of thumb when it comes to BDSM and kink and these experiences is, once we've come to our agreements, it shouldn't change. Now, the reality of it is sometimes it does, right? Sometimes it does in action. And that isn't the common practice, nor is it the practice that's promoted. But I like for it to be said because I don't want to come sounding like I'm in an ivory tower of I always get it right, or I haven't made mistakes, or I haven't wanted to change something for myself in the middle of the scene as a bottom, right? And it's like, how far along into a scene did I feel it was okay to put something in there, right? Because also a lot of times with my negotiations and my power exchanges with my relationships is yes until no, right? So when I play personally and intimately, the negotiation, the permissions are yes until no. Yes, Joshua, you can do anything you'd like until I said no, which is a much different execution of a scene, right, than a negotiation of this is what's permitted, this is what's not permitted. That falls into my pro work, hardcore. Like in the pro work, this is it. These are the walls. But then, as we were talking about the pro work, is how are we negotiating? Because sometimes we can negotiate by implement, but other times we can negotiate by feelings. And sometimes the feelings is pulled from the flogger, and sometimes it's pulled by the cane. But there has to be that umbrella understanding, agreement, negotiation that I'm not going to harm you with it, that you have the ability to tell me no or stop at any time, that this is the direction you don't want to go. But that all falls into the creative realm of creating a scene, right? What are we agreeing to? What are we not agreeing to? So negotiation, it's not so black and white. It's very important so that everyone understands the rules of consent and the permissions or the rejections, the hard ones, like this is not involved, right? Because then we've got it's not black and white. You have all this gray area in between that as adults who are engaging in this type of play, we got to be real about that shit, right? Because when we play, either topping or bottoming, whoever is, it's like, I want to give you the creative freedom and reign to have me feel the way you want me to feel. And how you get me there, understanding that if something isn't feeling right, I can tell you no. But I don't want you to be restricted to a box.
From the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's our relationship, right? But in pickup play, if I was showing someone, if I was doing a demonstration or a tasting for someone, that negotiation is very strict. It's very black and white. Negotiations is definitely a case-by-case basis in BDSM and Kink.
Yeah. Well, you were going into the second question, so I'll give you a pass. I always make a joke that Joshua takes 30 minutes to answer the first question because he goes on a tangent. But that was excellent because all of what you need to say all the time needs to be said. So, but especially you have a lot more experience.
Pat me on the head. Okay.
You have a lot of experience with negotiating, and especially within the pro realm and you've had a number of dynamics, as well as you used to top at tons of parties all the time, and from what I hear, and are beginning to do so again at our own Kink Collective parties. So I appreciate listening to all of your input on negotiation, because it's a lot more than I would have to say. So it helps. And Mary's not here, so talk all away. But you were getting into it. What is pickup play, and how does a pickup play scene negotiation differ from a pre-planned scene negotiation?
So how long have you been doing this now? 5 years on the community level, 6 years?
So I started playing on the community level when I was 18. I'm 24 now, so about 8 years, almost 7 years, yeah.
Okay.
7 years, but I took a break in between because I got burnt out, so not that much.
That's fair. So how would you define those?
Yeah, so pickup play is when you meet somebody that I guess you could have met them before, but you've never, I guess you could play with them before. You don't go in with an intention of I'm going to play with this person, and you don't have a scene planned. You go into the space and you're talking to people, and you meet somebody, or you meet somebody who you've seen in another party before or whatnot, and you say, you want to do this? Do you want to play? And we can try this and this together, and then you do it. And yeah. How does a pickup play scene negotiation differ from a pre-planned scene negotiation? Well, it's pretty. I think that within it's pretty self-explanatory, the words. But pre-planned scene negotiations are you have a conversation. This is what we're going to do at this time, here at this place, and you already kind of have an idea of what kind of scene you're going to do and what you want to experience. And the negotiation may be a lot longer, because you've had more time to talk about it, and it differs from pickup play because pickup play just happens then and there. It's like a present moment sort of, why the fuck not? But yeah, how does the negotiation differ? Well, I have them at Pisa. Can we talk about it now?
No. Let's say that to the resources. Let's say that to.
No one knows what a Pisa is. Maybe that's a lie. There's some people who know what it is.
So yes to everything you said. What I'll also add to it is pickup play can happen with anyone.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Because
would you call it pickup play? I guess.
Like, baby, let's go,
Okay.
right? And then we go and we're gonna go negotiate a scene, or someone you just meet at a party, right? Where it's like you guys connect and you vibe, and it's like, what, do you want to play? Let's talk. Let's negotiate. So it's in the moment play. Right, where we're going to utilize what we have around us, and it's a here, right now.
Yeah, it's funny because that makes a lot of sense, but I had only considered it as like a community thing. Like, we're at a party, we're at this place, like, let's just do it. Like, it seems very community bound. Like, I don't see it as like you saying, oh, let's go play and do this. It's just, let's go play. Like, it's not a. But that makes sense. It is pickup play, 100%.
As I'm sitting here thinking about it, this is what's coming to me too,
it makes
because
sense.
when we don't plan a scene, it's just gonna go the way it's gonna go. Versus, hey, why don't we plan this rope scene so that we can time box it, we can get everything set, we can get into the headspace. Like, there's a different process, a different ritual that goes into pre-planned scenes. Than that goes into pickup play.
Well, yeah, I would say though, if we're participating in pickup play, we don't negotiate at all. We say, well, this is what we're gonna do. How are you feeling? Let's do it.
We do, yes.
That's what I'm saying.
We do. This is a very what's number 7? Number 6 says a perspective. This is a very perspective-based conversation.
Well, that's why I don't call it pickup play, because for me, pickup play is connected to the Pisa, which is negotiation.
And we have around, because the other part about it is we do this so consistently. It's like, if something changes, tell me, versus going down this list every time. Even though we do stop to check in, our check-in isn't as methodical as it is for pickup play, for playing with people we don't know, or playing with someone I don't see all the time. Right? It's like we're in the constant presence, and our method of communication is different. And our availability to communicate is different than for, let's say, a play partner, even a play partner of mine, somebody I may do this regularly with, or at an event doing a scene for somebody or tasting for somebody.
Yeah, 100%.
I was looking back at the things. So let me finish up with the pickup play though.
Okay.
So as you were saying, pickup play is more known for happening in parties, at events, at conventions where you meet someone and you're like, oh wow, that's cool, or I like you, you're really nice, and I'd be interested in yada yada, right? Depending on how the people connect. Pickup play can happen with people that you know as well.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you bumped into one of the regulars on a Saturday night here, right, on Friday night here, and you said, hey Dan, can I flog you, right? It's like, that's the same type of thing. This is where vetting and discernment come in, though, is who are we connecting with, and how, like, why do I feel okay making my body vulnerable to this person, right? That's a component to this. But that's question number 4. I don't want to jump there. My bad. So please share some key components to a successful negotiation. Do you have any absolute necessities to discuss before play? How do you determine these necessities for yourself? So what I would like to ask for you guys is answer that question as well. Big Daddy, if you could drop in specific, you guys is answer that question as well. Big Daddy, if you could drop in specifically number 3 into the chat. And for you folks, answer that for us. And I'd like to hear what are some key components for you guys.
Yeah.
Or questions that you guys may have around negotiations.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear that too before we go into ours, because there are...
So someone said pickup play can be within a dynamic. The thing that shifts is how negotiation is handled. Awesome. Medical issues, triggers, hard limits. Yes.
Very important, all of those.
Yeah, please list the key components. I would love to see them myself, because what Natalie was pointing out to is our shorthand negotiation form, which has worked wonders for us. It was built out of doing professional domination for a period of time and trying to make a list of the necessities in order to execute a scene in a safer manner. Because I don't like to use the word BDSM as safe, because people die doing this stuff. But you can do it in safer ways. You can be more conscious of and more aware of the safeties and the limits of the people and the instruments and the things that we're doing.
Someone said, I need to know how the bottom would like to feel, and if they trace and aversions, if they have any trace and aversions to play that they're requesting.
Awesome.
Aversions.
For me, a big part of a successful negotiation is feeling out whether the person I'm talking to is getting a rush through the conversation. Big indicator that it's not going to be a good fit.
Going to rush, yeah.
Going to rush, yeah.
Yes.
Hi, Empress.
Hi, Mr. Joshua. Hi, Natalie.
Hello.
So I actually did a class on different negotiations for different types of play last year. Would you mind if I read out some of the questions for that I do for all scenes?
Please, please.
I ask, do you have any medical conditions or any medications that may affect the scene? I ask how long they've been actively playing publicly, because typically people who tend to play privately, they can get kind of social anxiety. They can safe word much sooner in a scene. I ask what we're both wanting from a scene, both physically and emotionally. Some people just want to be hit and get bruises. That's awesome. Some people are wanting that kind of emotional release though. I ask, of course, hard limits and soft limits. I also ask about triggers, because for me personally, a lot of people like to use a belt as a pretty basic implement for impact play. I refuse to use a black leather belt. I cannot do it. I've asked how much they've had to drink for alcohol and how much water they've had to drink. I ask if this is our first time playing together, if they prefer it to be a public or private scene. I've asked if we've watched each other play before. I've asked which scenes they've already had for that day or night, because that will affect how easily they're going to bruise. That will affect their headspace. I know if they drop during the scene, it probably can vary depending on what kind of scenes they've had before. I ask what their normal aftercare routine is, and if that differs, if they physically drop or mentally drop. and I ask if there's currently a dynamic that they're in, if I need to go and check with them, if any types of scenes are just off limits.
I like the last one.
That's really cool. I like the whole list.
Well, yeah, it is. Someone said something pretty funny. What are you needing for aftercare when we were finished? And someone said a cigarette.
No, the Empress, that's a phenomenal list. I didn't bring my pad and paper this time, but I would love to pick some of those phenomenal list. I didn't bring my pad and paper this time, but I would love to pick some of those from you. Those are really solid. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
MIDPISA
Is an acronym.
Is an acronym that stands for marks. Now it's going to be a mouthful at first, but there's a reason for it. It stands for marks. Am I okay leaving marks? Am I okay receiving marks? And both top and bottoms are answering this. Doms and subs are answering this. If so, what type of marks? Purple, redness, black and blue, black, broken skin, like to what degree are we okay with? The second is injuries and illnesses. Are there any injuries or illnesses that I should be informed of moving into this? Something that would come up here is like asthma. If so, do you need your pump? If so, is it here, right? So it's like, if it's not here, we can't play. Ultimately, the idea is to be safe throughout this whole process, throughout the scene. Injuries could be, for example, like if a person can't kneel for an extended period of time, that's something to be aware of, especially if you were planning on having them bend over and kneel, right? It's like that can change the scene if we go in not knowing this, and the direction of the scene has to shift 2 minutes in because this information wasn't passed. T, this is the first mouthful. Triggers, turn-offs, tone, and time. Triggers, essentially fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. If you feel that kicking into your body, what brings that? Turn-offs aren't as serious as triggers, but they get you out of the headspace, like being called certain names, or touched in certain areas, or touched certain ways.
Being checked in with too many times.
Being checked in with, like, how's that? How's that?
Are you
how's
okay?
That?
Did it hurt?
The tone is the tone of the scene. Is it going to be tasting? Is it going to be seductive? Is it going to be sadistic? Is it a test of endurance? What's the tone of the scene going to be? And then time. How much time are we going to be spending doing this? Because if Natalie and I were playing and I showed up and she had prepped for 3 hours and I could only stay for 30 minutes,
I'd be pissed.
that turns to a trigger.
Yeah, forever.
Right? So it's like to be aware of that stuff. Then we go to P for proximity. How comfortable are you with my body to yours, my face to your face? Areas can I touch, can I not touch? Proximity of the space around you. Do you want to feel enclosed? Do you want to feel free? In connection, how close do you want to feel with me? Do you want to feel like an object? Or do you want to feel a deep spiritual connection, however, feel with me? Do you want to feel like an object? Or do you want to feel a deep spiritual connection, however that works or looks for a person?
Emotional intensity.
Emotional. And then we have intention and intensity for the next I. What are we doing and how hard are we doing it? Right, so it's like on a scale of 1 to 10, completely being subjective to the person receiving, where do you want to go on this spectrum? The other mouthful, S. Sex, safety, safe words, substances, and senses. And then sensuality is going to be in there too, and you'll hear why. Safe words. What are the safe words? Not if you have safe words, what are the safe words? Right? If the person doesn't have safe words, trigger, right? I can't play with you, right? Turn off, I mean. So what are the safe words? Establish them. One of the things I like to point out is I like to, myself personally, I like to use common language unless no and stop are not going to be safe words, right? If those aren't going to be allowed, then I introduce the color system, because now you can say whatever you want, and these are the words that I'll be playing with. But find out what works best for you, but have them. And having to use a safe word doesn't mean anything other than you're being careful, you're being safe, and you're doing self-care. Mm-hmm. So, sex. Is that a part of this scene? If so, what does that look like? Because what sex for me is going to be different than Big Daddy T, than for you, than for the next person on the list, right? So defining what that means is hugely important.
Yeah.
Hugely important. If it's on the table, what does that look like? Safety. Do we have the safety shears? Have we checked the furniture? Are the toys going to fall apart if we're using them? Like, we check everything for safety to make sure it's in working order. Substances. Have we taken any substances that's going to affect how we're processing this whole experience? If it's painkillers, if it's any type of how we're processing this whole experience. If it's painkillers, if it's any type of substance that can alter you, this is where it's disclosed.
Yeah.
Now, as an adult choices and they make their own decisions. The reason why you ask this question is because you give the person an opportunity to be forthcoming with it, and then you can make an informed decision on whether you want to move forward with it or not. Right? If you don't put the question and they have been drinking, or worse, they've been taking pain medications, and you go to do an impact scene with them. I've had that experience, and it was not a good feeling the next day when they told me, "What did you do to me?" It's like, I didn't do anything to you. We did exactly what we negotiated. Mm-hmm. Oh, I forgot. I took pain meds. So that's why we ask up front. It doesn't give them an opportunity to forget. I don't want people to experience that. Then senses. This is a new twist to it. Ready? Do we have hypersensitive, hyper-aware senses? Sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, that can put us either in headspaces or out of headspaces. For me, if it's too bright or if the music's too loud, totally ripped out of space. The twist to this is, would you like any of them taken away from you?
So like sensory deprivations.
Right. So that way you can put it on the table, right? Then last is aftercare, afterwards, and anything else. What does aftercare look like for you? And for the tops and the doms out there, you can ask for aftercare too. Here's a free one. An arm rub, a shoulder rub, a massage, a foot rub at the end of the scene. That could be aftercare for the dominance. Like, if you can make me some coffee or make me some tea and give me a snack and let me just sit and decompress, right? Mm-hmm. Dominance and tops get aftercare too. So please put that into your toolbox. Mm-hmm. Afterwards, some people like to check in a couple days later, depending. Some people don't need that type of follow-up. This is where you discuss that. And then anything else, for me, it's have you eaten? Have you drank? Have you been drinking water? And especially if we're going to do bondage, have you gone to the restroom? Because that's a mother trying to get him out of the rope. Oh my God, I gotta go.
Get a puppy pad.
Get a puppy pad.
Deal with it.
So we're gonna upload that, but you can also find that on the website. And this list was created because I wanted to make sure that anyone who came into our spaces had something they can use to negotiate from, where it covered relevant parts, and then you could just build on top of that, right, for your own needs.
Someone asked, how do pain meds affect impact play? So
pain meds would, essentially they affect the brain. The brain creates it removes the sensation, the intense sensation of the pain, right? If it's a headache, if it's arthritis, if it's whatever, it's a chemical shift in the brain that's changing how your pain receptors are working. So if you're doing a heavy whipping scene and you've taken pain meds, you won't feel the damage that's happening to you, because pain is an alarm for your bodies to tell you, yo, listen, your shit's on fire, right? You need to turn that off. If you're turning off your fire alarms, you're going to burn down the house, right? So it's like, that's how that can affect it. That's pretty fun. I've never used it that way.
And sneak peek, we're going to have a conversation next month in January on pain and discomfort, and we're going to have a guest to come in and talk about the science of pain in regards to all the BDSM stuff that we're kind of talking about now, which I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I'm with all my tattoos aside, I'm like the biggest baby, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say about pain. I hope that answered your question about the pain meds. Yeah, that was a really intense experience, man. Because when you hurt somebody, because unintentionally, because if you do this, it's going to happen, right? We're not aces right out the gate, right? It's like Sometimes you wrap, sometimes the whip, you're a foot too close, sometimes it's like a good top, and I think this is gonna come, a good top, a good dominant, it affects us. It affects how we feel, like, am I safe? Oh my God, I hurt this person, right? It's like, that's one of the things that determine if a person's character, and I don't mean to be jumping onto number 4.
Well, I believe, no, it's okay, we can go into it, but I think that what was important in the beginning of, before we even went through MAPISA, is you said the negotiation is for both sides. So when you're talking about marks, you're talking about, is the top, do you feel comfortable leaving marks on me, and vice versa? Like, and someone just said here, which I think is important, said somebody recently in a rope workshop, it was stressed that deciding not to play can be a result of a successful negotiation.
Big
Which
time.
I think is crazy important.
Big time.
If tops and bottoms aren't compatible, a successful negotiation can result in not doing the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, to say this isn't going to work out. I've had that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
And I think that's why it's so important that, and it's excellent that MAPISA has, you know, it's packed, but it's easy to remember because you have the acronym. And once you get through it, it's okay. We've gone through a lot. I actually don't think that we are compatible to play. I think that we're better off maybe waiting or finding somebody else or just not doing anything
Or just
together.
not doing it. Kat actually speaks on that often.
Yeah.
It's like, and maybe out of this negotiation we decide not to play, and
Mhm.
that's okay too,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we don't have to force connections. You don't have to force connections. All right, so how do you determine these necessities for yourself? Ultimately, before I have to think about that though, because I'm the guy, and I find it's my responsibility as a host of events to go to the wallflowers, to speak to the people who are afraid of breaking the ice, and my role is to break the ice, to get them to talk and share, and then it's like to open them up. I have, as a host, it's like creating a space for a person to ask the questions so that they can feel okay or safe enough in their body to explore or to pursue. What I look out for to make sure that I'm taking the necessary steps is, why is this person here? Are they here to self-medicate with BDSM, or are they here to explore and learn themselves? And when I say self-medicate, I mean people who use BDSM and the culture as a way of harming themselves, but not by their own hand. Self-harming, but because I'm connecting with someone and they're doing it to me, it's not really self-harm.
Mm-hmm.
I use these processes to weed that out. Like, it's like I'm hearing a person's response in the conversation. So why are we doing this? Like, what is it? What is it that you're looking to get out of the marks? What is it that you're looking out of the intensity, and to really see a person's intention behind it? Because at the end of the day, you cannot give consent to assault, right? It's like anywhere you go, this is illegal, right? But we are coming into this as adults and saying, I agree and you agree, so let's do this together.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like mitigating the risks and making sure that this person, I trust them enough with what we're about to do. And that's seriously the importance of negotiating. Because if someone gets harmed, what happens next?
Someone said, impact where they ask for deep blue, purple bruises, or sharps play where they ask for deeper cuts, or cuts are in extremely sensitive areas. And we've spoken about this before. There are also people, and I've gone through this experience before as someone who has self-harmed in the past, where when I found BDSM, I was like, oh my God, I don't have to do it myself. I can just ask somebody to hit me for me, and I can like wrap it around my head. So it's not even, it's also finding the intention behind people or who are using it for self-harm purposes as well, and mental health situations and scenarios.
Yeah, and so it's tough because where does the responsibility lie, and what do you do when you find out right? Because there's a question is, do you think self-medicating through kink is a common thing? I think it's common enough. I think it's hard to determine how many people are out there doing it, but it does happen. And when we met, we spoke about it and we dissected it. And it's like my commitment and connection to you in that scenario was to create the safe space so that you can process why you were there with how you were treating yourself, so that we can bring some closure to that, so that what we're engaging in isn't that, and it's really about us and our power exchange and the things that we're doing in play to elevate, to connect, to share, for growth. It's tough though. It's tough when you come across, because a person has to be willing to talk and willing to do the work. What does it look like? In some cases, it looks like sub-frenzy. Sub-frenzy meaning a person who's bouncing from placing to placing to placing to placing. Someone mentioned in here earlier about the connection in the conversation. How, like, are they rushing through this negotiation so that they can get to the play, or are they actually here with us so that we can co-create, right? So that's another way to that's worked for me.
Yeah. Are we talking about green and red flags? Is that where we were at? How do you determine a person's character and or decide?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I would say somebody who is interested in the negotiation is I think the negotiation is just as important as the play and the scene itself. Getting to know the person, especially within pickup play, if you're just, I mean, again, I feel like I'm still stuck in my, like, you're just meeting the person for the first time pickup play sort of definition of it, but I think having that conversation beforehand, taking your time, listening to the words that the other person uses, you know, like the speed, what the connection is just as important as the play itself, because that's really the precursor and what's going to the foundation for your play is the connection itself and the conversation that you're having. So I agree with that person who said it. I think that it's also not a red flag, but I would say it's more of a turnoff that I wouldn't want to necessarily play with somebody who just wants to rush into play, because I feel like that energy isn't something that I want to engage in within BDSM. I want it to be, as much as it's going to be heavy and or possibly heavy and you know, within what BDSM is, that I don't want it to be on that sort of high vibratory level. I don't want it. That's like anxiety inducing to me. It's like, let's rush to play. Let's just, like, excitement is different. We can be excited, but rushing is a bit. I would agree. Anyway, long tangent.
Blushing Pixie, I was about to jump onto healing through kink, which is different. Pain management through kink is different than someone who is looking to self-harm. Mary and I talk about this often. She's disabled and she's suffered from chronic pain, and a lot of our scenes, our pre-planned scenes, were to bring her to a different relationship with her body, with intense sensation, and with the chronic pain that she was experiencing. For example, bastonado is another thing where she had nerve damage in her down her legs, and we used bastonado to bring sensation back to her feet after not being able to feel for a dozen years. Right? So it's like there's healing components to this that's very different than someone self-harming.
Pain management, which is that what
pain,
you call it?
Pain management is one aspect of it. The reason why I said self-medicating is because we're on social media, and I didn't want to say that the other way, but being that it's on the table, I wanted to put it out there for the right language. So thank you for putting that in there, Pixie.
Shall we go to the last question? Or do we have any more? Do other people have any?
Yeah, how do you determine a person's character and or decide if a person you want to engage with is trustworthy and displays an honest and good intention? Share some green and red flags in relation to a person's character. So that's where the philosophy people before kink came to be, right? Because I got too tired of being objectified. Ooh, master, flog me next. It's like,
I'm not your master.
I'm not your man. What's like, dude, what's your name, man? Like,
Hi.
hi. So it's like, if I feel objectified, if I feel like I'm just being used for something, not a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a person hasn't taken the time to introduce themselves to me or to show interest in my name,
Mm-hmm.
that's a flag.
Yeah.
If the talk is solely about kink, like,
And I think that's different. I mean, when you were talking about people before kink, from hosting events and having people ask. Actually, I don't know what fire play is. Could you give me a little taster?
yes.
Versus like a scene. Like,
Can you do fire on me?
Please do like a 20-minute fire scene. Like,
Yeah, dude. It's so those are, because what we do is, in as I see it, people who spend time learning the skill, developing their a relationship with vulnerability and power exchange and energy exchange and all this stuff, that's sacred time and energy. That's like a person who goes to school to learn a craft. You know, it's just, can you give it away? Absolutely. I like to give it away to people who appreciate it, as opposed to people who expect it. And those are significant differences for me. So let's do number 5 because I see we're running out of time.
yes. So for you, what is the most difficult part in negotiating and why? How will you improve on it? Do you have any resources or tools to recommend for improving negotiation skills?
Personally, when I'm negotiating personally, I am afraid of rejection, so I don't ask for what I want. Professionally, it's like I'm co-creating, so it's like I'll ask, and the worst thing they'll tell me is no. But it's wild because that's the other side of that too, right? But I'm afraid of rejection, so sometimes that's what makes it difficult for me in negotiating.
I think we hit on it a little while ago, but the most difficult part is going through an entire negotiation, and if I'm not feeling it, just saying I don't want to do it. Like, no, actually, I'm not interested. I think that's a people-pleasing mechanism that makes it difficult for me to say, actually, I wouldn't like to do this today or tonight or not at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's...
And I love when you do that.
Do it.
When you communicate that with me. Because it's like...
I was like, when do I do that? When have I done that?
Anyway.
Have I done it?
No, you haven't. No, you haven't. Yeah. So,
Start crying like a puppy. I do that a lot.
But when you communicate it, it tells me where you're at as opposed to...
Well, during a scene. Maybe not at the end of a negotiation.
That's fair. That's
That's what I'm saying. I don't like not even like saying actually I don't want to do this like before we even start playing. I'll do it when we get into the play. I'll say actually,
that's fair.
This isn't the vibe. This isn't the environment. These aren't the people who I want, or that's not the time. Like there's a factor that's making me not be in my headspace, and that's something that I'm pretty proud of myself for developing. Is maybe I'm not at the place where at the end of a negotiation I'm able to say, I'm not really interested in doing this, but if we get into it and I notice myself not enjoying it for whatever reason, and there's a difference between not enjoying it because there's something, like I'm not in the headspace to do it, and not enjoying it because, he's my master and it's not what I chose to, it's not the type of play that I chose to be involved in for that sort of,
Good answer.
It's true. Joshua, 7 more minutes. But do we have any? How will we improve on it? How will you improve on your?
By quit being a punk and actually saying so. It's like the rejection. I feel like if I were to ask for something and then it's rejected, I feel like it's a place I couldn't rebound from, of undesirableness. It's like it's a big, like it would be huge for me. Rejection is, and it's wild because some people are good with it. Some people are like myself on the other side of it, where it's like, I don't know what comes after rejection. So I won't go there, right? And I won't even take the step to be rejected. And that's followed me for decades. fear of disappointment, right? Of how will this person perceive my ask? Yeah, there's a lot that lies underneath that. I saw there was something under here down near the bottom about fear of rejection, but I wanted to scroll up a little higher. Fetish vending machine. Might as well charge. Just saying, yeah, no, listen, yes, I do charge. As always, I want to thank you, Empress. A wonderful discussion. Thank you so much. Fear of rejection is huge. I also have trouble saying no right away, even when my instinct is telling me to. Yes, very much so. Bringing back in another recent topic, what is the role of intuition, if any, of this week's discussion?
Well, that's good. Oh, sorry, you could have finished. You could have finished that.
No.
Okay, great. Because I was going to talk about how I will improve on. Well, because it basically goes into that. Like, if my intuition is telling me that this is not the right time to play after negotiation, it's for me honing in on that intuition and knowing that that voice is completely valid, and there doesn't have to be any reason in the physical world and the environment in which we're negotiating. Like, there doesn't have to be anything happening there telling me that I don't have to play. It could just be my own internal world telling me this is not the right time, and really listening to that, and not having to necessarily find a reason at that very moment, because if I go into the play and the reason is possibly some sort of emotional turmoil or some other sort of turmoil that I wasn't able to see before play, when we're playing, I'm sure it's going to be extraordinarily amplified based off of my experience.
So I'm going to ask you guys for help. We have 4 minutes left, because as a host, right, sometimes I feel obligated to. And sometimes I want to say no to a person. But the excuses, the reasons why I would give would end the whole night. Oh, I'm tired, I don't want to play anymore. But that's not the truth behind it. The truth is I don't want to play with you. I don't want to give you that energy. But how do I say that to a person without them feeling rejected, but knowing that I just want to keep my energy to myself from that person? So if anyone could come up with a phrase or two that would help me turn a person down because I'm not feeling the energy without stomping on their stomp, because it feels like I'd be stomping on them.
What if you just say I don't have the energy to give?
But then they see me doing 2 more scenes afterwards. I would use not right now surplus, but okay, Lee. Okay, all right.
That's pretty.
Surplus says not right now, because what would happen is, dude, no shit. 5 minutes later, I'm doing an impact scene with someone I do want to do a scene with. It's coming up a no for me. No, Kyla, listen. It's.
I mean, that's kind of
Yeah. It's so difficult, man. It's coming up a no for me, because I could see how you would say that too. It's like, yes, Kyle, I get it. But I'm the guy that takes 3 times to break up with somebody, right? I'm.
Somebody said I think it's pretty much impossible to avoid making someone feel rejected to some degree.
Yeah.
That's true. You can't be responsible. I would rather someone more who is straightforward than leaves me guessing. I'm fine with rejection though, because I do it too. Someone said I've already run out of spoons / have dealt out all my spoons scenes already, but maybe another time. I think that's nice. Like I already have like an idea of who I want to play with tonight. They don't need to know that you don't pick up play.
No, I like Lee. Lee's the winner. I'm reserving my energy tonight and only engaging with those I've already planned to play with. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I would tweak it a little bit for language and wizardry's sake, right? Yeah. Thank you. Because that shit, seriously, it's difficult for me, because you know how I am. It's like, yes, yes. But I mean, and I talk about the pain in my joints often enough, right? It's like the shit breaks your body down. I've got thousands of fucking hours topping people, thousands of hours, and it's like, look, this is how far my thumb can flex back. compare.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Like it's like this is the range of motion here, and this is the range of motion here. Like that's as fast as I can move it. Like it's really intense. So because I want to preserve what I have left, right? I don't want to not be able to play. I want to be able to play where it counts.
And that's also where aftercare comes in. If you're going to be playing as much as you're going to be playing, you have to make sure that you're taking care of your body in a way in which... He's like, oh shit, that hit home.
It's the hand. It said, make fun of me, will you?
Well, it's also important that you're able to experience aftercare with the person which you're playing with, but you're also able to take care of yourself by yourself afterwards. The next day, especially if it's someone who's you're not going to be able to see the day after. The day after that, who's going to be able to help you. You know, you have to make sure that you have protocol in place for self-care.
Yeah.
Your body, physically and emotionally.
Yeah, no, you're on it with that.
But I think we should end off with, are there any resources or tools that we can recommend for improving negotiation skills other than the mentorship program?
There's a ton of resources online. I think one of my favorite websites is the Bad Girl Bible. I believe it's called badgirlbible.com. They have a fantastic resource of information. And there's a ton of places out there. Google best BDSM negotiation questions to ask, right? Ask ChatGPT at this point, and it'll lay out a ton of questions, at least to get you started with, because it's going to change for you specifically, the viewer, the person listening, to your own personal needs. It's going to be all of this and something else, specific to your needs, specific to your life circumstances or experiences. But thank you, Mickey.
And I will try to get, I don't know if the MIT-PISA is posted on the Kink Collective FET, but I will try to get it posted if it's not, so that people who are on this call tonight, and I think that it should be posted on there.
Yeah, I believe
anyway. So maybe it's, if you want to check FET for the MIT-PISA that we were reading out tonight, and I think just practicing as many negotiations as possible with friends, people who you're not going to play with, but just practicing talking to people and communicating.
And it's okay to have a list of them, like pull out the phone and go through them, right? It's okay to do that, because you want to make sure you cover the bases so that you stay safe and you feel safe when you're playing. Yeah, that's my biggest thing. So,
do you have anything else to say?
No, that's.
I'm just putting the social medias in.
That's where I'm at.
So here, I just posted all of the social media links. You are able to message us on any of them if you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything that came up tonight. We're there to answer and have a conversation.
You can also go by thekinkcollective.net and contact us through that. Drop any questions anytime. I'm really excited for the people who are on the mentorship program tonight. I'm expecting you guys to knock that out of the park on Sunday. We are kicking off another program, another 6-week program on January 22nd. It's a Wednesday, I believe, and it's going to go from, I don't know yet. Kat has that information. Kat's in Guatemala for the next 5 weeks. But anyway, January 22nd is the next 6-week. It's quite an impressive and impactful program, I'd say myself.
No, I said this morning we were having a conversation. I said, I'm sad. It's like we're 4 weeks in and we only have 2 weeks left. Like, what? I feel so clear the days following. Like Mondays and Tuesdays are so nice for me because I'm like put it all out on the table in the mentorship program on Sundays. But
yeah, it's like we flip your understanding of BDSM upside down in 24 hours collectively.
So Wednesdays, you can go to www.kinkcollective.net and you can see the next pod. And next week, we're going to be talking about examining punishment and disciplinary action in BDSM practices. Same time, same place, same Zoom link. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys.
We'll see you next week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Punishment and discipline.